Hey, Misty.
Hey, Amarilys.
How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Ready to talk about such fun things like a whale killing a woman?
Yes.
Scalping her.
Yeah.
Fun. It'll be so fun.
I mean, if you have a weak stomach, you might want to take a Dramamine before you start listening to this. A Finnegan. But then you'll fall asleep.
Yeah, no. Just plow through it.
Just you'll be okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
So we've been getting lots of interaction from our friends.
I know.
It's made me so happy.
It makes me so happy.
Yeah, I was up one night and it said on the dock had made a post and I was like, well, what is Amarilys up to? And it was Amarilys apologizing to one of our listeners because the listener said, what did she say?
She said she almost died.
She said she almost died. And Amarilys said,
dying.
I would like to apologize to anyone who has died from our podcast.
Surely there's more than just her.
Surely. We've sent somebody to the hospital.
Either from laughter or just sheer boredom.
That's
which is
right.
what my sister would tell you.
That's right. And also, a couple of weeks ago, we made an outcry and said, will y'all please review us? We feel bad about ourselves. We haven't had one in a while.
We'd like to thank that one listener that did that.
We would love to thank that listener. And then we had another friend. Her name is, we're going to call her Mel because we're going to
protect her identity.
Protect her identity.
We're renowned here.
Absolutely. And look,
we can't expose people we don't know.
I mean, we get
like doxing.
We get death threats, so we are not trying to get y'all in here.
We got a death threat.
One, okay. But anyway, so this friend of ours sent us an email and basically was like, look, I don't know what is going on, but it seems like every documentary that y'all review is somehow connected to my life. Like I've been on a plane with some of these people. Some of them are in my hometown. She even said that this upcoming one, her son there may be video of her son throwing up on a roller coaster at one of these SeaWorlds. So, shout out to our friend Mel. Thank you for your email. Like, it was so funny.
What if she doesn't know who she is because we're not using her real name?
Girl, you know who you are. I told you I was going to talk about it. Oh, and she said she wanted to invite us to her book club.
Misty, that would require you reading a book.
I don't read books. Could y'all do an Audible?
Could we talk about a podcast series?
Could we talk about a podcast or documentary or an unsolved murder? And then maybe. But yeah.
A special non-book club.
Books are just not my jam. Like people that are like, oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to go home and cuddle up with a good book. And I'm just like, ugh.
They don't have TVs.
Obviously.
Those are the people that are like, I haven't had a TV for 20 years.
Obviously, some of these folks do not have streaming. Because let me tell you, you would be so behind on your shows, you would not be able to read a book.
Also, listen, I do like to read. I don't get to read very often.
Do you?
I do. I don't get to read very often. It's been a while since I finished a book, but my daughter is a voracious reader. Like we take her to the library, she checks out 4 or 5 books, and within days she's done.
Yeah, now I'm being funny. I think it's amazing, people that love to read, and I know they're way smarter than me.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I told her today.
Hands down.
I'm so happy that you like to read because it makes for a smart kid.
Yeah.
But Misty, when I see that The Way Down has a season 2 up,
forget it.
I'm not going to read a book.
Forget about it.
I got to look at that hair again.
Okay.
And I got to look at Tarzan flying a plane.
I got to know what was on that black box in that plane.
Yes.
Please. I got to know if that daughter has blown away in the wind.
Correct.
Yet or not.
Yeah.
But
I choose HBO Max.
I also choose HBO Max and Hulu and Netflix. And,
Paramount Plus is my new favorite.
Well, my new favorite is Discovery Plus because, I won't cancel that subscription that you made me get. That 7-day.
7-day free trial.
Philip doesn't listen to this, but I will not cancel them. I've got them all. I will not cancel them.
It's our job. How will we entertain the masses?
Can't we write that off on taxes?
You totally can.
I think so.
I did not even think about that.
Yeah, we could totally write it off on taxes.
We have enormous amounts of revenue coming in on Patreon.
I don't know that we will make the requirement of money to file taxes. Although we are so thankful for our new patrons.
Yes.
We've actually got...
Misty, they keep coming and I don't understand it.
I don't either. And I'm just like, y'all are so sweet. I wonder if it's like a a charity thing. They're like, these
I
girls.
think that's the only explanation.
These girls really need to pick me up. And if they listen to my last Patreon episode, they're going, "Phew, that one really needs something to lift her spirits."
Somebody up her meds.
Somebody up her meds, please.
Hey, by the way, we've decided that last episode that you did, which was Misty on her own trying to, steal my thunder.
Oh my God. Y'all, I'm not going to say it, but maybe somebody said you should go out on your own. No, they didn't, because they knew I would never release an episode.
No, Misty recorded an episode, a solo episode, because I'm so glad she did. First of all, it was really, really good.
Oh, thank you.
I'm super covered up in my life. I sound like a contractor. I'm just covered up, man.
Guys,
I just got to it. I'm just covered up.
So much going on.
So she recorded herself talking about Eli and being a special needs mom. It's fantastic. And so we're going to release that as a special episode in a couple of weeks for our regular listeners, so that you can kind of get a taste of what goes on in there. And really, it's a tiny little taste, because we really talk a lot of nonsense.
It's barely a morsel, because, we really, and I really wanted to release this too, because, there are so many special needs parents out there, and, it's Autism Awareness Month, and I don't know. I know there are a lot of people who wish they could talk to another mom, and so even though this isn't really talking to me, it's just kind of getting to hear me, and sometimes it just feels good to know, like, you're not by yourself.
Yep.
You're not on your own. So we're excited about that, but let me give a shout out to our new patrons. We've got Kate.
What up, Kate?
We've got Claire.
Claire.
That is such a fancy name. And then our good friend Lee. Y'all, Lee is a vintage listener. She has been with us since day one.
She is a charter member of the Doctors.
And let me tell you, she hypes us up like nobody else. Like, I can always count on a little text from Lee, who, by the way, Amarilys also says Reese's Pieces.
Both of you are wrong.
Well, she would beg to differ.
She's a nice lady.
So thank you, Lee.
She's from my hometown.
I love her.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
She's totally from my hometown.
Is she
Did
really?
not know her there.
Really? Did you go to the same high school?
No, I went to a little tiny Christian school.
Oh, okay. Her parents probably weren't rich.
Huh?
Her parents probably weren't rich like yours. With
they-
your private school.
I did go to private school, but I went to the cheap private school because when we got to our little town, the other school was sponsored by a Presbyterian church, and my parents were like, "No, we're going to the one sponsored by the Baptist church."
Oh, because they're so much better. Those are the ones definitely going to heaven. Come on.
True story. It's a true story.
True story.
So we ended up going to the cheaper school, and listen,
Right.
whatever, I loved it, but all my friends were probably from the high school she went to. I don't know. I don't know Lee very well. I know that we were from the same hometown.
Yeah, I do.
I know she's a really nice lady.
I do know Lee very well, and she is funny, and she's got great taste in podcasts, and she's very sweet.
We just talked about Lee for 5 minutes.
Congrats, Lee.
Lee, maybe it's time for you to upgrade your Patreon subscription
To the $1 million.
to the $1 million one.
Except
Blackfish.
this
I
one's
love
an
this
oldie but a goodie.
I love this movie.
Can I tell you that this maybe is in a tie place for how many times I've watched it. It's between this one and Grey Gardens.
Oh, really?
I've watched it at least 7 times.
Really?
Yes.
It's so depressing.
I know, but so I'm scared of fish.
Fish?
Fish.
Not orcas, just fish?
Just fish. Just plain old
Like little bitty schools of fish in the ocean?
like touch my foot and I'll have a heart attack. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just scared of them.
All right.
And so anything that can like live underwater and in the depths and all that is real fascinating to me. You know, I'm intrigued by my greatest fears.
Okay.
Kidnappers and fish.
Kidnappers and fish.
Kidnappers and fish. So this one really draws me in. And also, I look at these trainers and I go, what must that be like, that being your day job?
Okay. Here's what I know about me, and this is going to, some people will freak out about this. I'm not an animal person.
Oh, me neither.
I don't care about your animals. I don't care about anything about your animals. I know that's ugly. I'm sorry.
I know.
I have 3 cats. I know we talk about them constantly.
I love mine, but I don't care about yours.
I don't even love mine. I only have mine because my kids and my husband love them.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning, if those cats were gone, it would be fine with me.
Oh, yeah. Now, I would shed a tear over baby kitten, but the other ones, meh. I'm fine.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't abuse them. I pet them. They're fun to cuddle with, and they're sweet.
Yeah. I'm
just not that animal person that will volunteer my days at a shelter to help, or you know, I'm not talking about. I'm not on Michael Vick over there fighting dogs.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't care about your animals.
Hey,
so
but
I would never be a trainer. I would never put my life on the line.
Yeah.
For an orca.
Give me a fox stole with a head on it. I'll wear it.
Correct.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's fine.
Yes. My mother has a beautiful silver fox coat.
Does she?
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's gorgeous. But you can't wear it now because it's like totally
might throw
not
some
the right
red
thing to
paint
do.
on you.
Even though that pelt's been dead for a good 40 years.
And it's not, I mean, what else would it be doing if it wasn't on her back?
Keeping her warm.
That's right.
It's God's gift, really.
Really is.
All that to say, these trainers are just a different breed of people.
They are real invested.
Yeah.
In these fish.
They are.
Which, now look, I will say this. I watched this documentary, and apparently whales are very intelligent.
It's fascinating.
Like scary intelligent. Like they have a part of the brain that we don't have.
Yeah.
That's not like for attacking people, but for emotion and like empathy and family bonding, like something we don't have.
Yeah.
So
they said that they even have like an actual language.
Yeah.
That they communicate.
But like I look at them and then I look at like my cat. My cat will chase a light for 45 minutes.
Right.
So I'm like, they're really not on the same
Right. Now, one of your cats is genetically inferior. I know because her parents are my brother and sister cats. So we can't really put a whole lot of stock in that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
your regular old house cat, not smart at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A whale is going to mourn the loss of anyone in their family, particularly their kids.
Now that was really interesting to me because these things are like, I mean, like they're kind of human. And so these trainers get very attached to them because they have like personalities and they like have relationships with them. And, but then that can turn on you.
Oh yeah.
Like anybody.
Well, they go into a psychosis. They're being held in solitary confinement.
Oh, yeah. Anybody with emotions, I mean, they can flip a switch on you.
Yeah.
And not only that, they weigh 6,000 pounds.
Oh, they weigh more than that.
Yeah.
They weigh 12,000 pounds. That's what I think Tillikum was 12,000 pounds.
Oh, I thought he was 6.
Well, you may know.
I took a lot of good notes. So if y'all are, now listen, normally, always go with what Amarilys says.
Not today.
Not today, because Amarilys sent me a text and she said, take really good notes. I'm going to watch this, but I'm not taking notes. And I said, aye, Captain. And I took these notes.
I did
so
not.
Good. So let's kind of open you up to Blackfish if you've never seen it before.
What is Blackfish?
So Blackfish is a documentary, and it focuses on a whale at SeaWorld, okay? Now, it first opens up to a 911 call, which is what...
So can we talk about that 911 call? Okay, listen. Last week, I told you about this briefly. I don't even know if I want to bring it back up. Last week, I lost Nova for about half an hour.
That's her child.
It's not my cat. It's my almost 7-year-old. Because I am a free-range hippie parent, I like to let her play outside. Mm-hmm. And when I went to go get her, I couldn't find her anywhere.
Yeah.
She's under strict instructions that if she goes to a neighbor's house, she can't go in. She can only play in the front yard.
You did not say garage.
I did not.
You did not give specifications
garage.
on the garage.
So I had to call. I didn't call 911, but I called the police, like the police line. And I was like, okay, my number. I mean, I was screaming my head off. She'd been gone maybe half an hour, maybe 40 minutes.
Good God, you've waited 40 minutes to call?
No, I didn't realize she was gone until then.
Oh, that's right.
I thought she was playing outside.
Oh, that's right.
So when I went to look for her and I couldn't find her, I freaked out. long story short, she was in a neighbor's garage and she couldn't hear me yelling for her. But the entire neighborhood came out to look for her. It was crazy. Everybody came out of the houses to come look for her. I say that to say this. I'm on the phone with my kid who has been missing 30 minutes, who I know inside is probably just playing with somebody. I know Misty. She's not been kidnapped.
I know in my heart she's been abducted.
No, she has not been abducted. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't find her. I'm screaming. I'm trying to get their remaining call. This 911 phone call that these people made was about a woman who had been scalped by a 12,000-pound whale, and her body was still at the bottom of the pool.
Yeah.
And they were talking like, do you think somebody could come take a look at her?
Hey, guys, when y'all get time, could you come out?
If you have really, just if you have a moment, don't freak out. She's dead already. So.
I mean, but let's be honest, this was not their first rodeo. Although SeaWorld would like for you to think that trainers don't get killed on a regular basis, we come to find out that that's just not the truth.
Yeah.
So you've got this 911 call, and they basically say, hey, look, again, as Amarilys has explained very calmly, hey, guys, we've got a trainer in the water with a whale, and they're not supposed to be in the water with them. It's what he says.
It's totally her fault,
It's
so just take your time.
Hey, guys. And then hangs up the phone. Like, doesn't stay on the line with them. Then they call back again because I guess they think, oh, well, maybe there's more to this than we... And they call back and say, look, hey, a whale's eating a trainer. And she's still at the bottom
she was hungry.
She's still at the bottom of the ocean. Not the ocean.
The pool.
The pool.
Yeah.
She's still at the bottom. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we're on our way out.
We'll be right over.
Right. Now, cut to, we discovered this is at a SeaWorld park.
Yeah.
Amarilys, have you ever been to a SeaWorld park?
Yes.
Really? What was your experience?
I think I've been to 2 of them. I think I've been to San Diego and Orlando.
Oh, goodness.
It was a blast. I mean, we watched the Orca show. I'm sure, listen, that was back in the 80s. I'm sure that was Tillikum. I mean, if I went to the Orlando one, I'm sure it was.
You and JD. Look, I'm watching this.
Okay.
I'm watching this. We can put it in. I'm watching this documentary, and sweet JD, Avery's little boyfriend, sitting there, and he's like, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure I was at one of Tillikum's last shows. I was in the Splash Zone, and I'm pretty sure that I saw Tillikum. And I said, well, guest star.
JD, you still can't come to the show with us.
We may have to bring you on for an after-show spot. But right now,
Tell us about Tillikum. What was he like?
Right now, I'm leaving.
I'm just saying, it was the 80s, so if I saw the Orca show, I probably when she was there, he was there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he's been there 20-something.
Yeah,
lots of years.
Yeah, so it would have been bad. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was an Orca show, and they had just built. Have you ever seen Jaws 3?
I'm sure.
Okay, I think it was Jaws 3. In Jaws 3, if I remember right, the premise was that they were like at a SeaWorld park type. I don't know if it was SeaWorld or a SeaWorld type place. But there was an acrylic tube going through the pool, and people could walk in the acrylic tube, and so it was surrounded like the pool. So it was like a 365-degree view. Or is it 365? 360? 365.
Nuts days in the year.
It was an all-around view. How about that?
Yeah.
Of the pool, and there were great whites in there, and so it was super cool. We had a great experience at SeaWorld. Of course, that was before I knew, about dorsal fins flopping over because they're depressed.
Right. Well, so the SeaWorld trainers also had a lot of them had the same experience. Now, look, I've never been to a SeaWorld. Again, scared of fish. So I'm not going to pay money for one that's...
And you won't get on an airplane to go to San Diego.
No. And I'm not going to pay for one the size of a truck to jump up near me and splash me with water that I know has poop in it.
Yes.
Like, no. And also, judging from Tillikum's extracurricular activities, some other things that are in there.
Yeah.
So, no, thank you. But the trainers had also, a lot of them had been to SeaWorld as kids. Some of them can recall, like, watching National Geographic and seeing these huge whales. And and being really in awe of them, but really none of them set out thinking, well, I want to be a trainer when I grow up, because no such job really existed until SeaWorld came along.
Right.
And by that time, it wasn't really one of these things where you would think, oh, well, they have to have a marine biology degree. They have to go through all these years of school. Honestly, it was an entertainment gig. And so if you had a good personality, if you could, memorize lines and you were physically athletic, then you kind of got the job. Here's the problem. Thank God we don't have a SeaWorld here, because somebody would have been like, hey, they're looking for trainers, and all you got to do is be able to like sing and dance and wear a costume, and I'd be like sold. They would have hired me, and then I would have said, hey, I'm scared of fish. Is that going to be a problem?
That could be a problem.
And they would have said, yeah, that's going to be a problem. So basically, they've hired all these kids who are just good at flipping and swimming. Like, you just had to be able to swim and talk in a microphone.
My favorite was the girl who said, yeah, I'd been there for a few weeks, and then finally one day they said, you just jump in there and you get on the orca's back.
Yeah.
And then just ride, and then you dive off of him, and then he'll pick you back up, and then you're done.
Yeah.
And she totally did it.
And then you just feed them some fish.
Yeah.
And you're finished. Mm-hmm. And so there's this whole like group of young, really talented kids who started this job, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, these whales are not just regular animals. Like, they start forming relationships with them, and they fall in love with them.
They don't really respect the whale's ability to kill them.
They, the way they talk to them were like babies. Yeah. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good job.
Oh,
good job.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet today. And
give them kisses.
Yeah, giving them kisses. And it's like, I'm sorry, killer whale.
I'm going to tell you something Amarilys is
Red
never
flag.
going to do is kiss a killer whale.
If killer is in your name at all, we're not friends.
No.
Like, and also when they opened up that mouth, did you see those teeth? First off,
teeth.
stank. Second off,
well, their diet is fish.
Sharp. I mean, it was like a mouthful of razor blades.
Misty, they're killer whales.
Yeah, and they were so yellow. Like,
it's like they don't even go to the dentist.
It's like they don't even know what a crust white strip is. So that would have turned me off immediately. But anyway, so they get really into this, and they all become friends, and it's like a big family, and everybody's kumbaya. We love these whales. And then something happens. They start to hear of different parks where trainers are getting eaten, basically. Okay?
Yeah.
But it seems like every time something happened, the SeaWorld would be like, oh, well, it was a trainer error.
Yeah.
Or one fell in the water and drowned. It was never that it was the whale's fault, right? So the documentary goes back into Dawn's case. So basically, this documentary is going to jump back and forth. Like, it's going to go from parts of SeaWorld and court cases and different things, but the main one that we kind of learn about is Dawn.
Yeah, and so when you say that it goes back and forth, it's really interesting because orcas killing their trainers is not a new thing. Like, it's been happening from the moment they captured a whale, which was about 50 years ago or so. They even had, in 1971, they talked about a lady. They showed her video.
Oh, yeah.
And she was even out there without a wetsuit. She was just wearing a bikini.
Right.
Killed.
Right.
And so it's not like, oh my gosh, did they just recently start killing people? No, this has been happening since the moment they were able to capture a whale.
Right. And so let's talk a little bit about, before we talk about Dawn, let's talk a little bit about how they started getting these whales, okay? So basically they started in Washington, which I didn't even know they had killer whales in Washington.
Oh, yes.
I had no clue.
Off the coast, yeah.
And so
that's where people go to look for, like, that's just a place in the United States people go to go orca watching.
I mean, I just know about the White House.
You what?
I just know about the White House.
Okay, Washington State, not Washington, D.C.
Where's the ocean?
Oh my gosh.
See what the lead. Amaryllis. Hush. You need to show some respect. We're about to start talking about some real ugly things, okay? So in Washington State,
I love you so much.
I love you too. In Washington State in the 1970s, they start deciding they're going to capture whales to use for entertainment. Like they've come up with this idea of we can have this huge theme park, we can have these aquariums. These are really interesting animals that we can show. And so basically the way they did it was they would get these boats full of fishermen basically, and they interview some of these fishermen, and they bomb the waters. And so
Awful.
It's horrible. And like these fishermen are like upset about it.
Yeah.
So they bomb the waters, but these whales are really smart, and they all travel in huge families. Like it's kind of like your family. Like
it's like they're Cuban.
It's like they're Cuban. Like they love to be together. And so like it's not like in Alabama, like where somebody's mad at somebody's aunt and then they split off. Like they stay together. And so they bombed these waters, but the whales kind of figured out, they were like, look, ladies, and they talk in their whale talk.
Oh my gosh, you speak whale.
They talk.
What did you just say?
I just said, come on, guys, let's go. And so they talk in their whale talk, and they say, mamas and babies, y'all go this way. The daddies are going to go this way. We're bigger so they can see us, on top of the water. Y'all get low, swimming over this way, and we'll lead the boats away. So they did, and it worked for a little bit.
It's so cool. They really are.
Yeah, they're so smart. And so it worked. They followed these daddy whales. Well, but little did the whales know, because you can only know so much living in the ocean. We've got helicopters and airplanes. And so the airplanes saw the mamas and the babies, and they say, hey, they've messed you up. Come over here. They drop a net and basically fished out the babies because they were cheaper to ship.
It's unbelievable.
And guess what those mama whales did?
They freaked out.
They cried. And basically they said all they could compare it to was mourning. Like they were crying and noises like they had never heard before. They surrounded the boats, would not leave the boats. They even stayed and were trying to get to the babies so fiercely that two of them got caught in the net and died, like the adult ones. And one of the guys that captured them, he was like, I didn't know at the time because I was young. He said, but I thought we were doing the right thing, but when we pulled these dead whales up, they had us cut them open and fill them full of rocks and tie an anchor to their tail.
Unbelievable.
And sink them. And he said, now I know that was illegal. Like, we shouldn't have done that. Yeah. But they didn't want anyone to look at this and think this is a bad idea. Mm-hmm. And so to them it was, we're getting these babies out. They're going to live a great life. We're going to give them everything they need, and people are going to learn about them. But pretty soon,
found out.
Washington State, not D.C., found out.
Right.
And called Washington, D.C. So this is part of it. Yeah. That's where I'm pulling it all together.
It was an honest mistake.
It was an honest mistake. Yeah. And they said, look, this is going down. And they said, well, we're going to outlaw this. Mm-hmm. Like, y'all can't fish here anymore. And so they said, well, never mind. We'll just go to Iceland.
Fishing is very regulated now.
Yeah. And so they just went to Iceland. And when they got there, one of these little tiny baby whales that they pulled out, which was 16 feet long and 4,000 pounds. That's a baby. That's a young one.
That's your baby.
That's a young one. Okay. They took him and brought him to SeaWorld, and they named him Tillikum. So anyway, they loved working with Tillikum. He was very easygoing. They said he learned really fast, and he was eager to please and just seemed to really do well.
He wasn't. They didn't bring him straight to the United States, though, right? This was, or did they?
They did. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they brought him to the United States, and here's one of the things that was really upsetting to me. And like we said, I don't even care about animals. I mean, I'm not saying I don't care about them. Like, they're great.
I'm with you.
They're
just
God's
not like an animal
creatures,
rights
but I'm not an
person or
animal rights person.
You don't want bad things to happen to them.
But when I heard about this, I was like, that's not right.
Yeah.
Like, So basically what they would do, and they did this to Tillikum, when they train an orca, they will bring them in with a whale that's already been trained. And they'll teach them these tricks. And if they do the trick well, they get food. Because their way of training is withholding food. And because, I mean, you'll do anything if you're hungry enough, right?
Sure.
And so they would teach him these tricks with a seasoned whale. And then when Tillikum didn't get it right away because he's still learning, they would punish both of the whales. So what does that do?
Oh, it makes one whale mad at the other whale.
Right. And so then afterwards, they would go and lock them in a dark tank. And then the whale that was pissed off would do what they call raking. So basically, this whale would take its teeth and scratch him. And so by the morning, they would pull him out and he'd be covered. They said sometimes he would be covered head to toe in rakes.
Well, they even showed, I guess it was Tillikum, at least one of the whales, during one of the shows, one of the SeaWorld shows. You remember that? Where they showed the whale. It was just blood all over the water. I don't remember how they explained it to the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just bloody all over the water. The other thing was that they put those whales in that holding tank, and they started as babies in there, or at least Tillikum started as a baby, but they never moved him out of there as Tillikum got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
So then it became a real tight squeeze in there, which, even solitary confinement is totally outlawed, or the people are looking to outlaw it, even in the prison system, because it's so abusive.
Right.
So you think about that with an animal who is in the animal kingdom probably as smart as a human, and it's abusive.
Right.
It's sheer abuse.
Well, and they didn't just do it when he was younger. Like you said, they never moved him.
Yeah.
And so as he got older, they decided, well, we'll still keep him in this tank, but we'll add 2 females in there because we need him for breeding purposes anyway.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk a little bit more about later on. But so they would put him in the tank with these 2 females, and he was so big, they said that he couldn't turn around.
Oh, my word.
Basically, he would either head first in there or back up into there, and he couldn't get away. And so the 2 females would beat the crap out of him at night. They would just rake him up and pick at him all night long because he couldn't get away.
It's abuse.
So why not? I mean, they're mad anyway because they've been withheld food all day too.
Yeah.
And like Amaryllis was saying, at some point you start to see not just a decline in like their personality and the way that they interact with other people, but with Tillikum, you saw a physical decline in
the
him.
dorsal fin.
Yeah. So tell them a little bit about the dorsal fin.
Well, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I saw this movie a lot of years ago before I rewatched it a couple of days ago, and that's the one thing that always stuck in my head was that dorsal fin.
Yeah.
Because I'd never noticed it before. In the wild, dorsal fins stick straight up, just like you picture in your mind in movies and in pictures.
Yeah, like a dolphin or a shark.
Yeah. But when you see them in captivity, the dorsal fin is slumped over.
Flopped over, yeah.
And it's because they can't get away. In the wild, they can swim 100 miles out of, to get away from whatever they're getting away from. There's depression happening. But to me, the thing that made me the most mad was when SeaWorld said 25% of whales have a floppy dorsal fin, which is just completely made up.
Yeah.
It's totally made up.
Yeah. They said it was actually in the wild, it's
normal.
less than 1% have a floppy dorsal fin.
Yes.
It doesn't
exist.
happen.
Yeah.
Well, and they also die a lot quicker in captivity. So
oh yeah.
So
I
their
forgot about that.
Their favorite thing, you see all these interviews, and their favorite thing SeaWorld would say was, "Oh yeah, these whales, they usually live 25 to 35 years." That was every single one, and you could tell it was something they had read over
in captivity,
over and over. 25. Well, no, they would tell them. They would say even in the wild, 25 to 35 years. Actually, they even live a little bit longer with us because we can give them medical care.
Oh, vet care.
We can provide them with nutrition. We give them exercise. Like, they get so much more here. When in reality, some of these things live up to be 100 years old.
They have a human lifespan.
Yeah, females live up to 100 or older, and
crazy.
males live up to 60 to 80 years old.
Yeah.
In the wild. And so you start to kind of see that maybe these orcas are not as happy as SeaWorld would like for us to think.
Right.
And so when you go back and you learn about Dawn and you hear all the things that had happened, it kind of starts to make sense as to why this probably occurred. So we're going to talk a little bit about Dawn. And so Dawn is the trainer that they called and said, hey guys, we've got a little situation over here. Can y'all, real casually come over here?
Can you come find this scalp for me?
Right. So when they get there, we hear a little bit about Dawn. Dawn's this like beautiful, talented, friendly woman. Like everybody said, she lived and breathed SeaWorld. Like her job was her life. Mm-hmm. And you see videos of her, and she's very talented and young. Like
loved the animal.
Loved the animals. Yeah, just crazy about them. And as you go through, you see that there's a detective starts interviewing a guy named Thomas Tobin, which was on scene when all this happened. And he says that she was scalped, but there was no blood, so they knew her heart wasn't beating. And they said, well, where did the whale grab her? Like when he went to get her, where did he grab her? And he said, well, the whale grabbed her by the forearm. And they said, okay, well, at any time did the whale release the forearm? And he said he swallowed it.
The arm is inside the whale.
So basically you come to understand that this poor woman was mutilated.
It was a very violent death.
Vicious, violent death. And basically, when SeaWorld goes to talk about it on the news, they just casually say, you know what, we had a trainer that fell, slipped in the water, and drowned. Okay?
Right.
And they forget
count on their audience.
They didn't count on the fact that they had guests there.
Yeah.
And people who were witnesses. And so the witnesses go, no, that's not what happened. So then SeaWorld comes back again and says, oh, sorry. Actually what happened was she was wearing a ponytail. And I mean, Dawn would tell you herself that it was her fault, that you don't wear a ponytail around the orcas.
Right.
And the orca just was really excited and grabbed the ponytail and didn't realize that he hadn't let it go, and she drowned.
They are awful people.
Can you imagine what Dawn's family
Oh my gosh.
was? And they go through all these videos. Every one of those women had ponytails. It had nothing to do with the ponytail. Like, he didn't swallow her
it had to do
ponytail.
with Tillikum. Who did you mention that Tillikum had a little bit of a history of violence?
I did not. Mm-mm.
Do you remember that?
I do. He had what they call lunging episodes, like where he would lunge at trainers. He had one guy that the guy was working with him, and he was somebody who Tillikum was very familiar with, had worked with many, many years. And he was coming around to do something, and the guy had gotten so comfortable with him that he was just on the side doing his thing. Well, Tillikum comes up and lunges and grabs his foot.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
And pulls him into the tank. And so he said he was just in shock. Like, he was like, what? Like, he knew Tillikum could be moody, and he knew that he had episodes of what he called like lunging episodes, but he had never seen him grab anybody. Well, so he grabs this guy and he pulls him down to the bottom of the tank.
So terrible.
And y'all, in the documentary, they have a video of this, and they show it.
Horrible.
It's horrifying. And so basically what the guy's doing, and thank God, this guy was scuba certified and trained and very knowledgeable about how to hold your breath and how to lower your heart rate, survival instincts. And so basically Tillikum just plays up and down with him for what seems like a long time. He would pull him underwater for literally like up to a minute, and then let him come back up, like not let go of his foot, but would let him come up and get some air. And the guy, you could see he was heavy aspirating. would let him get air, and the guy was so good.
Oh,
like,
my
did you
gosh.
see how calm?
Yes.
He just was like petting Tillikum and saying, "Oh, you're so good," and
Yeah.
it reminded me of like these people who are like kidnapped, and they'll be like, "Oh, I really like being with you.
Yes.
Like, we're gonna get married, and this is gonna be a great," because they're just trying to get their captor to give them trust to let him go. And so that's what he did, and he took him down I don't know how many times. Well, then finally, at one point, he let go of one foot and grabbed the other.
Oh my gosh. I would be so dead.
And it's like, you look at that and these animals are smart, and it's almost like he wanted to torture this guy. Like, you play games with me, and that's how I almost looked at it. Like these people who have a flip in their switch when they get like these people who want to like hurt others. It was almost like that, to where he was like,
I've had enough.
You've picked on me all this time. I'm
I am
about to
done.
pick on you. And so he let go of his foot, grabbed another one, did another one of those things, taking him down to the bottom, came back up. And so finally, he had stroked him enough that it had relaxed Tillikum, and he did at one point let go of his foot. And they were able to pull a net up, and that guy took off swimming.
Have you ever seen anybody swim that fast?
I've never seen anybody swim that fast.
It's like he could have beat Michael Phelps.
And when Tillikum notices, he goes over the net, like jumps over the net. And this guy with 2 broken feet, he can't even like stand, but he like squabbles off, and they have to like pull him back.
Yeah.
So Tillikum had some aggression before, and that guy, both his feet were messed up.
But they did not tell the trainers about Tillikum's history in Orlando.
No.
Dawn didn't know about that.
Right.
She had no idea.
Yeah.
And even if it was Dawn's fault, she didn't have that in her knowledge to even think about it.
Right.
To even think this orca could potentially kill me.
And actually, there was another woman that he did that to. She was leaned over the side of the pool. This was at the same park, the guy with the feet. And she had leaned over the pool and just had her elbow in the water. He jumps up, grabs her elbow, and does kind of the same thing, dragging her around the pool.
Oh, yeah.
To the point that when she came out, her arm was shaped like a U.
Yeah, it was gross.
Like, broke her. So the grabbing of the arm was not new.
Yeah, also that was her fault for, being halfway in the water.
Although she's a trainer, and they are in the water with them all during the shows.
Yeah.
So when all this went down with Dawn, they of course have to go to court over it. Yeah. And basically SeaWorld blames Dawn and says, look, we have a lot of situations where the trainers aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Dawn would tell you herself she didn't do the right thing. And this is just something that happens. Yeah. But Tillikum's fine. Like,
he's not crazy.
He's very happy, and he would never hurt anybody, and he's not aggressive at all. And OSHA starts going, I would beg to differ.
Yeah.
And so they start arguing that, look, this is something that has happened many, many times. I think by the time they went through it, there were like 30 documented deaths.
Yes, it's a lot.
That had happened since 1970. And that's just deaths. That's not even talking about injuries.
Oh my gosh. That video of that man that was riding one whale, and I don't know if it was Tillikum or another one, but so guys, picture this guy riding a whale in the middle of the pool, and this other whale jumps kind of arching over him.
Right.
But he had not cleared, so the whale, 12,000-pound whale, falls on him.
Well, and they say that whale that did that had done that trick so many times, and that was
looking to injure that
man.
They
said it was on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, both of those whales were working together, and that man got crushed.
Oh my gosh, he lived.
He lived, but they said he had to have so many surgeries, like, that he's not even like mobile.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it had just become a thing where for SeaWorld, it was all about saving the brand and not about these trainers. And SeaWorld's whole way of getting around this is they just act like nothing happened. And even
everything is awesome.
Yeah. And then even, guests. They just were like, hey, we'll give you a pass to come back another day.
That reminds me of Tiger King.
Yeah.
We are never going to
financially recover from this.
Listen, I can give you your money back, or I can give you a pass.
I can give you a pass.
Back another day.
Come back another day. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, so we're gonna have to get Saf's arm if we can, but I don't know what we're gonna do. So basically, they're just the guests that were there said they never contacted us.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't hear from anybody until an attorney contacted us.
Yeah.
SeaWorld never asked for a statement. They never said, we're sorry for what you've witnessed. They just acted like, oh, it was another day at the park. Hey, our show ended early. We're going to need y'all to leave.
Yeah.
But now what they did realize was they weren't going to admit Tillikum was a problem.
Right.
But they were going to admit that he wasn't the showstopper that he used to be.
Yeah.
So they were just going to use him to breed.
Yes.
And so what's the best thing to do when you're breeding is to take a whale that has violent tendencies.
Right.
Has killed numerous
And promulgate that.
people and say, well, let's put these genes into 54% of all whales now
In captivity.
Being used for these parks.
These shows, yeah.
Yeah, in these shows. And
It's pretty amazing that they're still open, really, after this.
I don't understand.
I mean, the circuses closed down because people were stopped going.
Right.
Because of how they treated their animals.
Right.
I went to one of the last years that P.T. Barnum circus, Ringling Brothers Circus came to town.
P.S. I love the circus.
Not me.
I
Listen,
did.
like I said, I'm not an animal person, but I certainly don't want to see any animal get abused. And I remember going to that circus, and the elephants were so sad. I mean, you could physically see in how they walked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were just so sad, and it was just terrible. I mean, I just remember thinking, I'm never coming back to the circus ever again.
Yeah.
Even like the Birmingham Zoo. Sorry, Birmingham Zoo people.
Uh-oh.
Have you ever seen the elephant enclosure at the Birmingham Zoo?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's like, it's elephant enclosure at Alabama Zoo is to elephants as Tillikum's pool is to whales.
Yeah.
We went, I have a picture of it. We went, and this elephant.
And it's way bigger than it used to be.
This elephant was standing there facing a retaining wall, not moving. Mm-hmm. Like his face was on, like almost his snout was, or his trunk was up to the wall. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, I don't want to give a zoo any more money.
Yeah.
Because it made me so upset to see this African elephant so sad in this tiny little backyard.
Now, when I was a kid, it was probably a fifth that size.
That's crazy.
Like, they've made it a lot bigger. But like you said, it's still not enough room for an elephant, you know?
I know.
So anyway, they start using Tillikum basically to breed. And just a public service announcement, okay? This documentary shows it all, okay? I had never seen a whale in all its glory before.
Oh, okay.
Did you see the retrieval process?
I have to tell you, I missed that part because I told you I had it on while I was working.
I need y'all to know that they show Tillikum's peen. And they show
Is there
him...
a better name for a breeder than Tillikum?
His name fit. Because, let me tell you, they had a bucket. I'm not kidding you.
Should we give a warning to people before they listen to this part of
Warning
this
to your children. Get them out of the room. They had a bucket that was like the size of a industrial trash can.
Oh, my word.
And Tillikum, they show it all. He is laid on his back, and they are maneuvering him. And
I missed that.
And I looked and I thought, surely that's not it. Surely this is a piece of farm equipment that they have pulled out. No, ma'am. I don't know where it stays while they're swimming. I don't know if it's up inside their body and it has to be pulled out. It was, I don't have words. It was.
I'm going to have to go back and look at this scene.
It was such a size. in such a length that I do not kid you that I thought they had pulled out some piece of equipment.
Oh my gosh.
It scared me.
Man, it's a 12,000-pound animal.
It scared me. And they went about their business milking him. And and he looked as relaxed as anyone just
who's being milked could be.
Being milked, yeah. And he was fine with it. And so they did their deed, and apparently they just inseminate all these
whoever they want
with it. They just send semen or Tillikum all They just send it all over the United States and maybe to Australia.
Australia, that's random.
So yeah.
Oh my word.
That's what they do with him now, and he gets to make a big splash at the end, and that's it. He waves a little bit. He said he might do a bow, but at the end of this documentary, Tillikum was still working daily on the shows, and still providing them with buckets and buckets of DNA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Creating lots of little shamus everywhere.
All over the place, yeah. And hey, do you want to know something that was really interesting to me about this? And again, equally as sad. So basically, and I told Avery this, I said, you could learn a lesson. Baby orcas never leave their mother.
I thought about you. I totally thought about you. I meant to ask you, do you wish you were born a whale?
After I saw what Tillikum's working with, no. But but I do.
It's going to be marked NSFW.
I do understand that the children stay with their mothers their whole lives, and
yes.
I thought, well, they
never leave.
It's wonderful. One of the sad things. Now, this will make me upset. Like, I can deal with all the other stuff, the training. Like, I don't like it. I don't think it's good, but like I can deal with it. But this part really bothers me. So I don't know if you ever saw any of the SeaWorld commercials as a kid.
Yeah.
But like they do things like make them fly through the clouds, like they're angels or something, or airplanes.
Okay.
I don't know. But one of the commercials they said was, Shamu has put on her most amazing show yet. She's given birth to baby Shamu.
Yep.
Do you remember baby Shamu?
Yeah.
So they have baby Shamu.
Yeah.
Now, baby Shamu's name is Kalini. They market this, come out and see Shamu and baby Shamu, and it's this mother and baby, and they're all like spinning and dancing in the water. And then all of a sudden, baby Shamu, Kalini, was like, bump y'all. Like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And so she's a little baby Shamu, and she's like, I'm the star of this show. I'm about to act up. Y'all about to give me that fish. Y'all ain't about to tell me what to do. Can't nobody tell me nothing.
Yep.
And so they said, bye, Kalini. We're not dealing with you. And so they said, we'll just take Kalini and we'll separate her from her mother because her mother's protecting her and letting her act a fool. And we're going to move her to a different park. So these animals who never separate from their mother in the wild, they take this baby.
Oh my gosh, it's
ship
awful.
it to another park. And they said that this mother wailed and mourned in such a way that it made sounds that they brought in an orca expert, and they said, we've never heard this before.
Yeah.
Like she was creating words that had never been spoken in the orca language. Grief. Yeah. And they said she was never the same after that. Like she just was never the same.
It's awful.
Awful.
I do remember, maybe Shamu is who I saw, whatever the Shamu whale was.
Mm-hmm.
I remember those very, very vividly.
Yeah.
Wanting to go see it.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I mean, so are they still doing shows? Like, I know they're still open, but are they actually performing with these whales still? Because that was something they were trying to cut out.
Okay, so I looked on their website, and when I was a kid and you went to SeaWorld, these experiences that we watched on Blackfish was what you went to SeaWorld for.
And sometimes they put children on their backs.
Children?
Did you not see that part in the documentary?
No.
You could tell this was early, like 90s, late 80s. They took a child out of the crowd and was like, come here, little Johnny, and sat him on the back of that orca's back and was like, smile for a picture.
That sounds safe.
Yeah.
That's like, again, Tiger King.
Yeah.
Shark stuff. Tiger stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a kid, that's why you went,
Yeah.
right? You went for the Shamu or the Tillikum show, right?
Right.
So now OSHA implemented all kinds of restrictions. So, as a result of Tillikum eating this lady, I know that sounds crass, but that's exactly what happened.
That's what he did.
Trainers are not allowed in the water anymore,
Mm-hmm.
like for shows at all. And there had to be like barriers built, and there's lots and lots of regulations. So they could not go back to doing shows like they used to do.
Right.
But on their website, they have something called Dine with Orcas, and you can see the people seated right by the pools with a barrier, like a clear barrier, plexiglass barrier, and you can see the orca behind them doing tricks, and they're just sitting there having lunch. So I don't know who's directing the orcas, where they're from. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But also the animal experience is super deep in their website. It's not like front and center. Now SeaWorld is basically a theme park
Roller
with
coasters.
roller coasters and things like that. And if the orcas are their bread and butter, they're not really showing it on their website.
But Tillikum, from last we saw on this episode, I don't know if he's still alive, but he was still working daily shows then, but that was before they kind of shut all that down. Now, I'm going to leave you with one parting story from Tillikum, okay? Because Tillikum didn't just lash out his anger at trainers. One time, he lashed out at a homeless man. And
oh yeah,
they have this news report where basically one of the employees comes in to open up the park, and he notices that Tillikum is swimming around in the pool, but he has something on his back, and it was a naked man whose genitals he had eaten off.
Right.
So basically, a homeless man. I want to say they said that maybe he suffered from some mental illness, but he had.
Well, of course, SeaWorld is going to say that.
Well, yeah. So basically, he had broken into the park, and look, SeaWorld says, look, this man was mentally ill. He jumped in the water wanting to have a magical experience. He stripped his clothes off and wanted to have a magical experience with the orcas, and the orcas were startled. And so they bit his penis off and he died. And so, but in reality, this was a homeless man that broke into the park, probably trying to find food or whatever. And you know what? Yeah, he probably did get by the water and was probably like looking, but Tillikum lunges, remember? So how do we know that Tillikum didn't jump up and grab this guy like he did to these multiple trainers, which is his background, grab this guy, pull him into the water, strip his clothes off, and basically castrated him and chewed him up all over and killed him.
It's awful.
And then flopped him on his back, like the guy's laying across Tillikum's back, and he's basically parading him around saying, look at what I did, when they come in.
Yep. It says that when they did an autopsy on this man, they found numerous wounds, contusions, and abrasions covering his body, and his genitals had been bitten off, all allegedly caused by Tillikum.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this is there were cameras all over that park, and SeaWorld is like,
oh, we don't have any footage.
I really think it was his fault.
Yeah.
Really.
And we don't have any video.
Yeah.
And also they said there was security in that park from like 24 hours a day. There were people there, and nobody saw it.
Nobody saw it.
Nobody saw
Also,
anything.
they did not find drugs or alcohol in this man's system. He was not drunk.
He wasn't, he wasn't intoxicated.
Tillikum ate this man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure this dude was by the pool wanting to catch a glimpse of
Look at the orca.
Of the orca. And Tillikum was like,
Lunch.
yes.
Yeah.
Midnight snack.
Yeah.
is pretty terrible. He was involved in, all total, he was involved in 3 deaths because when he was first captured, he was captured in Iceland and he lived there for like a year, couple of years, and he killed somebody there. And then he killed the homeless guy.
And he
the
killed
drifter.
He killed Dawn.
And then he killed Dawn.
And he like attacked though many trainers.
Yes. Yeah.
And not just Tillikum. I mean, they had attacks in other parks as well.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's orcas will attack you.
Well,
Not in the wild, they don't. There are no. This was interesting. There are no known attacks on humans in the wild. So when you're out, you see these boats of people on cruises that go out on these excursions to go whale watching.
yeah.
Orcas don't attack those.
They don't jump up and grab these people.
No, they're
No.
friendly. They're just want to stick to their own.
They're just family folks.
But they get into a psychosis when they're captured. It's really, really interesting.
Right.
That happened. Don Brancho was killed in February of 2010, and in March of 2011 they brought him back to start performing again. But by then OSHA had done all kinds of restrictions, and instead of using their hands to massage him, you know how we talked about how they talked to him like a little kid and they would pat his nose and they would kiss him and stuff like that. They couldn't do that anymore. OSHA was like, no, you can't do that anymore. So they would use high pressure hoses to massage him instead of hands. And they put guardrails up and they restricted the contact between the trainers and the animals because I mean another death was just bound to happen. Right. And he got sick apparently at some point in 2011, and by 2017 he had died.
Okay.
And it was reported that he had a bacterial infection. So who knows?
Yeah, it's really
That was
sad.
a really fun documentary to talk about. I can't wait to
sad.
actually move along to like the way down where we can make fun of people's hair
Yeah.
instead of talking about somebody getting scalped.
Yeah. But if you have a chance, watch it. I mean, there's a lot more in there. I mean, they go over several other attacks, very in-depth deaths.
It's
fascinating. And whew.
If you had told me that I would watch a documentary about an orca and be completely rapt about it, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, you can't take your eyes off of it for the whole hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sucked in.
It's really, really good.
So it's good.
And it'll make you never go back
to SeaWorld.
to SeaWorld.
Yeah.
It will never make you want to give another dime to that organization.
You'll never want to go back there again.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't take my girls there now.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either. But you can catch it on Prime. So
You know what? The truth
Yeah.
is, I think that it's about to go off of Prime.
really?
Yeah, I think it's about to drop off. But I mean, it's available on YouTube.
Oh well, you're welcome for us doing this, so y'all can catch it.
I did think, well, this was good timing because it's about to get work. I think I watched it on Prime, but I think it's streaming in other services too. But I know you can get it on YouTube.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's totally worth your time. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
What are we doing next?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I mean, The Way Down 2, I'm thinking.
We for sure have to watch. It's 2 episodes.
We got to watch The Way Down 2.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited about it. Also, my husband told me that there is a new documentary coming out on HBO Max about Menudo.
Oh my.
You know Menudo, right?
I only know Menudo because they were on an episode of Silver Spoons,
Yes, they were.
but I never listened to
Ricky
them.
Schroeder, my very first crush in the 6th grade ever.
Ricky freaking Schroeder.
You know, he's like a super duper devout Mormon, and now he's like super duper politically involved and stuff, and
Well,
he's
he
very polarizing.
was the cutest little blonde thing.
But he was so cute.
He was,
I was
so cute.
12-year-old me was like, I love Ricky Schroeder.
I loved Ricky Schroeder too.
And Jason Bateman was on that show, and I loved him.
I still love
Yes.
Jason Bateman.
I love Jason Bateman.
He is so funny.
If we give their podcast a shout out, do you think that they would give our podcast a shout out?
Jason Bateman's got a podcast?
Oh, Misty, it's a great podcast.
Oh, Jason, if you will listen to mine, I will listen to yours.
It's called Smartless, and it's him and Will Arnett and Sean Hayes. You know
Okay.
who Sean Hayes is?
From Will and Grace.
From Will and Grace.
Yeah.
And then you know Will Arnett, of course.
Of
comedian.
course, yeah.
And it's called Smartless, and they're all 3 really good friends, and they will just have an hour or so worth of an interview with like one of their celebrity friends.
Well,
It's so much fun.
we're celebrities.
I mean, why wouldn't they?
I mean, come on down to Alabama. We'll show you what it's all about. Roll Tide.
It's close to Atlanta where you're probably filming a movie.
Exactly.
I mean, I have family in Atlanta. We could come over there if you want us to.
I mean, if you want us to fly out, just send us some money for a plane ticket.
From Birmingham to Atlanta.
From Birmingham. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I kind of like that idea.
Okay.
Of that captivated one. But anyway, Menudo. Oh, we're talking about Menudo. I had the biggest crush on Menudo. Biggest crush. So Menudo was, a teen band. They were from Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't be older than 16 and be in Menudo. So when you turned 16, you were out, and they would put somebody else new in.
Oh.
So it was constantly changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ricky Martin came from there.
Okay.
You probably don't remember John Cicada, but John Cicada was from there. You probably know some of John Cicada's songs from the 80s. It was very, very good.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm super pumped about it because Menudo was a big part of my childhood and my teenage years.
We will do that if you promise to do a New Kids on the Block documentary.
Yes.
I actually have one on VHS. It's called Hangin' Tough.
Stop it.
Behind the scenes of a concert. So.
Okay. New Kids on the Block came out when I was an older teenager. So, I mean, I listened to some of their stuff just because they were top 40, but I was
a huge New Kids on the Block fan. I had buttons the size of your head that I would hang on my T-shirt and rip holes in it. My mother would get so mad. And I had New Kids on the Block earrings. Donnie, the bad boy, that was my favorite.
He was your favorite?
My
Donnie
favorite.
was?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, Donnie with the underwear on his head. Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
He's married to Jenny McCarthy now.
I know.
I don't know why I know that stuff.
I mean, he also is the brother of Marky Mark in the Funky Bunch.
Yes, he was.
Better known as Mark Wahlberg.
To this day, I don't look at Mark Wahlberg and not call him Marky Mark.
I have to. Feel the vibrations. Come on, come on.
Okay. This has now devolved into something very different from Blackfish. I think it's time to say goodnight.
That's right. Hey, this is On the Dock.
We forgot to introduce ourselves. I'm Amarilys.
And I'm Misty.
And we just watched Blackfish, so you don't have to, but really you should.
Head on over.
Bye.
Bye.